Well, I've had a lot of time to kind of digest this bill, and I find it problematic on several levels. And I'd like to start off with something Senator Pratt said, that I must assume he means DFLers, only like local control when it serves our progressive interests. And I'm pretty sure that's a motive. But let me just take that as an opening, if you don't mind. Take a little liberty with that. If by progressive interests you mean taking care of the working people of Minnesota, then I'm pretty much guilty as charged. But let's flip the script on that a little bit and talk about what are the motivating factors or the pushing factors, or who's behind this bill. Is it the working people of Minnesota? I certainly do not think so. As a matter of fact, it took me probably, 3.4 seconds to find almost this exact bill on ALEC's webpage. Not only that, a cursory search discovered that about 22 different states have had similar or the exact same bill offered over the last couple years. This bill is about politics. It's not about good policy. This bill is not concerned with making sure that our workers have what they need to be successful, that they make the living wage that they deserve, that they can have time off to take care of their family. This bill is is a part of a national conversation and is invoking or inserting itself into this national discussion. Unfortunately, it isn't about what makes Minnesota great. And that's really one of the things that I'm most disappointed with this bill. It seems to me to take aim at the unions and a lot of our average working Minnesotans. The reality is, beyond the evidence of seeing how this is being part of an orchestrated nationwide plan, I have seen many bills here that we really care about, bills that we think are important, and I've seen a lot of good bipartisan work at times. This bill is not an example of that. As a matter of fact, on numerous occasions I offered to the chair and others that I would like to work with them on it before I understood the larger political nuances. I offered to work with them and see what we can do to find some bipartisan resolution, and was never had that offer taken up. I've seen when we are interested in passing bipartisan legislation to make the state better, and this isn't an example of that. This bill is an example of a national agenda that we're trying to push through, that the opposition, I would say, the majority party is trying to push through, and I have a real problem with that. I don't think that we need to be the testing ground for national messages, and I certainly don't think that our bills should be being handed down to us by larger organizations. Now, I'm not questioning that Senator Miller wrote the bill himself. That's fine, but the similarity to the ALEC bill online that I looked at right here on my iPad is stunning. Secondly, let's talk about the reality of local control for a second. In my time now as in the other body and here, have had this really amazing opportunity to get to know an unbelievable group of people, and that is my local school boards, my local city council, and the local mayors. And there's one thing I know. I was asked by a student from Bethel a few weeks ago about where accountability comes in government, and I said the closest area we have to accountability is when we look at our local officials, because, like has been said several times before, they're the ones that run into their neighbors every day to talk about the laws and rules they're passing. I trust them to make the choices that need to be made for their city and for their constituents. I trust that they're going to be held accountable through the electoral process, which we have, and it's robust. I have great faith in those folks to do this work. I find it, and the irony is not lost on me, after listening to the rhetoric of this past election season, that this bill so plainly says that in St. Paul, we can manage your city better for you than you can by telling you what to do. That is quite contrary to the rhetoric that I heard on the campaign trail. I'm very disappointed to see that we think here in St. Paul we can tell these folks how to manage their business affairs and how to treat the people that work in their cities the way they do. I think it's disappointing to think that we're going to somehow mandate those things on them. I support a city's ability to make its choices. I agree with Senator Little that we set the minimum standard, and then the city wants to exceed that, that's their business. Listen, we've got a lot of really great cities here, and we've got a lot of economic diversity. You look at Redwood Falls, International Falls, Moorhead to Shoreview, right? Dalton, Minnesota to Evelyn, Minnesota. These are very economically diverse areas that have different needs. This one-size-fits-all mandate does not serve the people of Minnesota well. I don't even think it serves the businesses of Minnesota well. But what it does do is further us along the national argument that's going on up from ALEC and the national and state chamber, which is unfortunate because those organizations don't have a long history of taking care of people very well, especially when you look at our workers. And so I am adamantly opposed to this. I also am frustrated because yet I see another bill coming forward that clearly has been outlined by the governor as one that he's not going to be supportive, that we have clearly spent a lot of time on, a lot of effort and a lot of resources to try to move along, or one side has, and we're not going to see it go anywhere. And so that's a bit frustrating too, because now we're not managing the things we should really be worried about here in the state, like what your guys are trying to preempt in the first place. So I'm very disappointed, and I hope that you will vote no, send the message, and let's see if we can get some of Minnesota's real work done. Thank you.